Let's go kill some terrorists. Let's go, let's go. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Ugh. Why am I so bad at gaming? I know I'm better than this.
Does this sound familiar? Most likely, you are a pro gamer inside, but it's your equipment that's holding you back. Let me fill you in a little secret. The best gamers in the world, it's not skills, it's their gear. A nation of players, we bring you the best gaming equipment with the mostest RGB to improve your FPS. If you don't believe me, listen to this very legit gamer.
My name is Blake.
Is your son?
My name is Blake and I'm a pro player from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. When I started out, I was just losing left and right, and I lost my confidence. And then I lost my girl. She didn't want to date no loser. I thought maybe I don't got what it takes to be a pro. Then I got my RGB keyboard from NOP, and that turned me from a gamer into a player. Now, I don't just win games, I also win the ladies. If you want to be like Blake from Pennsylvania, please call 1-800-NOP-WINS for your very own RGB keyboard. Don't just game, be a player. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Scott K. You know, I don't game that much. I was never really into gaming equipment either. In fact, I never really understood what made a gaming keyboard good for gaming. Hence, why you don't see much of it on my channel. So recently, ASUS ROG Republic of Gamers reached out and asked me if I would be interested in looking at their latest gaming keyboards. I was like, nah bro, I ain't into gaming gear. Custom mechs are the best. They said, your custom mechs are optimized for typing. Gaming keyboards are optimized for gaming. Touche ROG, I won't argue with that logic. So I decided to see, can a gaming keyboard made for gaming really help me become a pro gamer? Short answer is absolutely not. Didn't make me any better, but I did learn a few things from this experience. Now I know what the latest gaming keyboards are all about. 1. Who would have ever thought that RGB actually improves FPS? I'm just kidding. It doesn't that much, only a little bit. Full disclaimer, the video is sponsored by ASUS ROG, but everything I do and say is of my own opinion, and ROG doesn't get to influence any of the content at all, or stop me from being an idiot on camera. So, let's get started. So ROG sent me all 3 of their current RX Optical gaming keyboards. They said this was the best representation of what a good gaming keyboard can be. So we got the ROG Strix Scope RX, the ROG Strix Scope RX TKL Wireless Deluxe, then finally the Big Daddy, the ROG Claymore II Wireless. Now let's start from the most basic and lowest price keyboard and work our way up. So the first one is the ROG Strix Scope RX. It's a 104 key, 100% profile gaming keyboard. It costs around $130 or so MSRP. It features a single piece aluminum top case, which also is its plate, mounted to a plastic lower tray, and features all of the keys you'd expect from a 100% keyboard. Like all the other keyboards we'll be looking at today, the Scope RX features double shot PBT shine through keycaps for that RGB action. It looks like it's OEM profile, honestly. What is interesting is that the stabilizers on these keyboards, they're like this weird variation of something like a Cold Star staff, but it actually sounds pretty good out of the box. And all 3 features these flippy feet as well. The case is a low profile design with the switches being exposed if you look to the side. I like higher profile cases, but low profile designs like this you can still use without a wrist rest, so not definitely a bad thing. It's fitted with the ROG RX Optical switch, which promises 1 millisecond response time and no debounce delay. I'll talk about that later. So we'll get into the switches a little later. One thing I did notice about this $130 keyboard is that it has fixed USB cable. I really hope that they could make this removable, especially at this price point. One final interesting thing about this keyboard is that it's IPX57 capable, so you can technically submerge this into a meter of water. But only this one, none of the others. Next is the ROG Strix Scope RX TKL Wireless Deluxe. Why ROG? Why? This one is TKL and is wireless capable, but other than that, this is pretty much identical to the wired big brother. It also sits on a higher end of the price spectrum, usually going for around $170 MSRP. This is supposed to be the form factor of choice for FPS players to give you more space for the mouse, right? It also features the same double-shot PBT shine-through keycaps with the ROG RX Optical switches. But this one being the wireless version, it can work with both 2.4 GHz adapter or Bluetooth. Also features a removable USB connector, which is a plus. And since this is a deluxe version, you got this magnetic wrist rest that sticks to the front, so it's quite squishy as well and pretty comfortable. And plus you get the braided USB-C to USB-A cable. Now, moving on to the most expensive, most feature-packed keyboard we have today, the ROG Claymore II wireless. Typically goes for a whopping $270 MSRP. The overall construction is similar with the others, with a single piece aluminum top case and plate combination with a plastic tray lower bottom. However, this being the flagship, the aluminum actually has a brushed effect on it and also features this clear acrylic trim and RGB lighting and a battery indicator to tell everyone that you're a pro gamer. But there's more. This keyboard has a trick up its sleeve. It's a numpad. I was really excited to see this thing and thought, oh man, wireless detachable numpad? Cool! Then I realized that it actually needs to be connected to the side like this. You pop the trims off on both of the sides and the numpad slides on. The intention is to make this keyboard flexible for both gaming and work, so it's like the mullet of keyboards. Business in front, party in the back. But one thing that is pretty cool is that it can work on both the right as well as the left side for southpaws, or to clear space on the right for the mouse for that gaming session. The numpad has media buttons as default, but you can also program it to gaming functions if you like. Since this is also wireless, it features a 2.4 GHz adapter, but strangely enough, it doesn't have Bluetooth. Plus, you can plug the keyboard into USB to charge or trigger it to be a pass-through as well. It features the same double-shot PBT shine-through keycaps with the ROG RX Optical switches as well. It also comes with magnetic wrist pad, which is also very squishy and comfortable. However, the weird thing is that if you have the numpad off, you get this weirdness void right here, which I really didn't like. So far out of the three, the one that makes the most sense to me is the Scope TKL wireless. I'm not gonna repeat that crazy long name. If this is for gaming, you probably don't need the numpad, and I feel like the price is more palatable. Before we get into the actual switches, let's talk about what I discovered as some of the worthwhile gaming features these keyboards have to offer. I mean, there needs to be a reason why so many people buy these, right? So, I think this is probably one of the major ones, macros on the fly. So all three of these ROG keyboards allow you to record a macro on the fly and set it to any key. So what did this do for me? For example, when I play CSGO, at the beginning of the match, I purchased my equipment, right? I press B, 4, 1, and so on and so forth. With the macro recording, you can literally press one button and have it press B, 4, 1, whatever else you want, so you could purchase all your stuff at once with one push. I know you could also do this with a custom Mac as well, but you need to go into QMK or VIA to do this before, so this is the quick and dirty method. You could do it for non-gaming stuff too. Here's another interesting one. So the Scope actually has a weirdly long control key. At first I saw it and I was like, oh no, this keyboard has cancer. Then I realized as long as you play something like a first-person shooter, you could hit the control key much easier with your pinky to crouch or walk. At first I thought this was so stupid, then I tried it in game and it actually was more comfortable, so. Then there's the profile setting. You can literally save scenario profiles to what you're gonna be doing. So for example, if I wanna play Lost Ark, right, and I wanna record the action, I could set it as profile 1, have it load Lost Ark, have it load OBS, set the system volume to 50%, switch my audio output to headphones, all with just the push of one button. I know you can do this manually step by step too, but if you're a busy pro player, I mean, who got the time for that, right? Gotta go win games and win the hearts of gamer girls. Finally, this is the single most absolutely important feature hands down. The keyboard can be half of a keyboard, but this feature makes it all worthwhile. The old crap button. I mean, ROG calls it the stealth key, but you press this one button, it minimizes all your windows, and then it mutes your audio. I don't know what kind of shady activities gamers are up to in between your gaming sessions, but this seriously is the most important key for all the teenagers in the world that lives with their parents, so use your imagination here. Alright, now, finally, the main selling point of these keyboards is actually this. A special optical switches inside. These are specifically called ROG RX Optical switches, and they are very different from your typical MX style switch, and even different from other optical switches also. First of all, you take the caps off and you're like, what the heck is going on here? Yup, the typical cross receptacle of the MX keycap is not here. Instead, you got these 4 pegs. Then the stem, like the entire top is the stem. It's a boxy design, but not quite a box switch. It's actually pretty reminiscent of the Logitech Roamer G switches, but I've used those Roamer Gs before. They're pretty scratchy and not that great, and this is definitely not that. These are in fact pretty smooth to use stock. Then you'll notice that the light for the RGB is actually right smack dab in the center, and it doesn't move even as the switch is pressed down. I guess the idea was to have like a central lighting system to have the most even RGB lighting as possible. And RGB lighting this thing has. Looking at the switch in more detail, the first thing you'll notice is that inside, there's this weird X scissor mechanism. As you press the switch in and out, you actually notice this, that it actually opens and closes. So I wanted to see it up close. So you know what? What's funny is that this isn't sold as a hot swap keyboard, but you can actually use a thin switch puller like the Wuque titanium one I have right here and pull it out pretty easily. Then I used the watch back opener and took the top housing off to find some more interesting design elements. By the way guys, the watch back openers, they're awesome for opening Kale style switches as well. First of all, this thing is completely connected together, so the parts actually don't go flying everywhere when you open this up. The red scissor mechanism serves as both the sliding rails as well as the internal stabilizer for each switch. So when ROG says that this switch is wobble resistant, I could see why. It's got an entire structure inside it. I checked to see how much wobble this thing has, and overall, it's very good. I wouldn't say it's the best I've seen, but definitely more control than some of the looser MX style switches for sure. I also took the measurements, right? I want it to be numerical, of the wobble like I do with my standard MX switch testing, and I found that it has about 0.3mm lateral and also vertical deflection, equaling a total about 0.42mm maximum diagonal deflection. So it's right up there with the best of the MX switches, like the latest Gateron switches. While I had the switch taken apart, I did think, what if I lube this thing, right? So I did, and overall, it does make the switch slightly smoother, and at the same time, it also changes the sound of them a bit. If you turn the switch around to the bottom, obviously it's got no pins since this is an optical switch. But as you press the switch in and out, you can see that this little white tab, it like peeks out, which in turn will then break the light beam in the PCB. That triggers a key press, so why go through all this trouble when a standard MX mechanical switch works fine? Well, let me tell you. In a standard mechanical switch, you got the stem on top. As that stem goes down, the little legs press against the leaf and it triggers a key press. One issue with this is that it's a metal leaf, essentially being flicked by a plastic medium. What happens to metal when it's flicked? It's going to vibrate. When it does, it triggers multiple contacts and you're going to get actually multiple key presses being registered. In order to prevent this from happening, the PCB will actually delay reading the key input to clean the key press up a little bit and limit it to just one. This delay is called debounce delay. It's a very small delay, but it can still be up to about 20 milliseconds. Now with optical, when the beam of light is broken, it's a straight read. No need to delay, so theoretically, it's instantaneous. Plus, you don't have to reset the leaf back to off position by going all the way up again, right? So as soon as you clear the beam of light, you're back to reset. Rather than just saying it, you know what? I put it into practice. So in the first test, I did a response test where I would test how quickly an action gets registered on the screen after it's pressed. I did the test on an all-wired and with all of the 3 RX ROG boards against 3 different MX linear switches. The results are interesting where, on the average, the reaction time required from key press to screen for the MX linear switch is around 0.265 seconds. On the other hand, the average reaction time for the RX Optical was 0.226 seconds. I know, this is like splitting hairs, right? Can you really say that that's actually different? Well, think about it this way. So many people are hung up over 1 millisecond, that is 1,000th of a second. The difference between the MX and the RX right now is 0.04 seconds, which is actually 400th of a second. That's 40 milliseconds. All in all, it's 15% faster, that means. Now, the second test was to see how much the increased speed to register, also the ability to reset faster, what kind of action you could have from a spamming perspective. So for this test, in a given 5-second time interval, I spammed 2 keys as fast as I can to see how much characters I could register on screen. I know, I wish this was more objective too, but this is the best I can do. So in this scenario, on the average, the MX Linear registered about 68 characters in 5 seconds between 2 keys. So that's about 34 inputs per key. Now, the Optical RX switch registered about 75 characters in 5 seconds between 2 keys. So that's about 38 inputs per key. So once again here, the speed of actuation and reset allows the optical input to be about 12% or so faster than the MX Linear. So at this point, I got excited. Faster and more spamming powers? Let's go put it to the test. I should be 15% better at gaming, right? At least 15%. Get me to pro levels, right? Absolutely wrong. I tried out a few competitive FPS games like CSGO, Overwatch. I still sucked. Didn't win any more matches. Then I tried out more standard RPG games like Genshin Impact, Lost Ark. The keyboard really didn't help me kill any faster or win any more duels. So what did I learn from this entire ordeal then? Gaming keyboards don't make you better at gaming. Blake from Pennsylvania straight up lied to me. And if you don't get any better at games, you also can't get more gaming girls. So sad. But what it did teach me is this. It's not about the gaming keyboard making you a better gamer, but it's about the gaming keyboard giving you some extra tools to make your gaming easier or more enjoyable. So at the end of it all, I won't say that gaming keyboards are good or bad. For a normal user like me, the 15% extra speed doesn't help me in any way. However, for a true competitive cyber athlete, perhaps the 15% faster input can equal a win or a loss. So take it for what it's worth. For me, I'll stick with my usual slow custom mechs, but if I ever do feel the need to really win a game, I'll pull out the ROG Strix. Remember, don't be a gamer, be a player.